rise and shine, or fall and dim, whichever it is you want to do at this time of day. I'm a spicy lad, but you can also call me Sichuan. It is now part 2, thus it is time to talk about the Unknown Valentine, or as I'll be referring to them for much of this video, just Unknown. I hope that doesn't get confusing, but since the man videos seem to do just fine with that, I think we'll be similar here. It'll be the expected thing, detailing all relevant information about the character, extrapolating where necessary, and connecting what I can back to the man. We will get to the card itself first. So, the Valentine's Day cards, the lot of them. You can find all of the different cards, in both official languages, in the description, courtesy of my good colleague Sergio from the Half-Bred Chaos server. For the one most relevant to this video is the 39th of the set of 44, and it's the only one in the super rare category. As such, only a small handful of newsletter subscribers got this Valentine's Day card. But who is it from? Let's pretend you don't know. With all the others, even the other quote-unquote mysterious one, being Alfie's, we can tell who sent those due to how they're written, who's depicted in the letter, and most importantly, having their respective names in the URLs for said letters. The reason the topical card is being referred to as the quote-unquote unknown card is literally because that's the character attribute in the link. Almost certainly not the character's actual name, but until we learn more information about that part, I'll just refer to them as unknown and such, as stated before. Onto the card itself, it's strange from the beginning to end. It starts out with the narrator, who does appear in a few other letters, but this instance is appropriately strange. After that, an unknown character starts talking to us in a peculiar way. They say, "It's a strange letter. It's more or less completely illegible. But if you squint your eyes, and you squint your heart, for some reason, you feel you could understand it."
Well, Happy New Year! Or was it the old year? Well, in any case, how is Deltarune? As you're waiting patiently, the time is going around. There was even a rumor of Valentine's Day. How absurd! Every day is a day of love, if only you believe it so. Do you believe it so? So, the purpose of this message. I want to help. Yes, there was someone I wanted to help. I seem to have forgotten who. Yes, it's quite ironic, but I seem to have forgotten. Was it myself? No. Well, perhaps. Regardless, when I see them, I'm certain I'll know straight away. I never forget someone I don't remember. Will you help me? You are very odd, responding out loud to a letter, but you seem reliable. I'll be counting on you. Now, put on your coat and wash your face. Or, put on your face and wash your coat. Not necessarily in that order, or in any order at all. Goodbye!
There was a sound like someone walking away, and then the letter was gone. Okay, let's go over all that. Besides the apparent practical illegibility, this person speaks in all caps, is rather quirky and friendly, and possibly of an older age, and they appear to either contradict themselves often or be indecisive. And in the Japanese version, despite the narrator commonly using kanji as if in the dark world, Unknown does not use a single kanji. Furthermore, in Japanese, they use the pronoun kimi for the reader, watashi for themselves, and seems like a rather friendly person in both versions, potentially older, as said prior. As for what this character talks about, they open with the acknowledgement of the real-life start of the new year, or end of the old year, and straight ask the reader how Deltarune is. Odd that Unknown put a space there, since with that, it'd be referring to the legend of Deltarune and the glyph itself. However, the Japanese version doesn't have a space there, meaning they are referring to the game itself. Is either one of them a typo? I'm not sure. Either way, this character seems to be more aware of their world than they should be. What's with the rumor of a Valentine's Day bit? I don't know. Unknown seems to need our help to help someone else. Or maybe it's more so Chris's help, if they're the one reading and responding out loud to the letter, as we're not given any inputs, given it's just an image. Anyway, this person they're referring to is someone who they cannot remember, nor their name or anything about them. But the thing Unknown is indecisive about is whether or not they are the person they want to help, admitting that perhaps, in some way, they could be. Unknown entrusts the reader with the request, even though we weren't given any instructions, and leaves with a charming and old-timey typo of goodbye. And when the narrator says the letter was gone as soon as Unknown left, footsteps and all, they weren't lying. The English version of the letter really is missing. Now replaced with a blank card, though sadly nothing's hidden in it. This isn't a him.png situation. It's just missing, along with any official trace of the original message thus far. It's gone, as if it was never there to begin with. Weirdly, the Japanese version is still up, so maybe Toby forgot to get rid of that one? So, who or what could this possibly be? And what's the deal with the letter? To focus on the first part of the question, many people have clung to Unknown being Gaster, as you can imagine, citing the use of all caps, its unreadable lettering like the Wingdings font and or possibly Sans' machine blueprints, acknowledgement of the passage of time and Deltarune as a game, and the traceless disappearance of the letter shortly after the fact. While I agree that there are a number of Gasterisms in this letter that should be taken note of, the most noticeable discrepancy between Unknown and WD's speaking styles is the former use of contractions, whereas the latter does not. Furthermore, the oddly wishy-washy and jovial nature of Unknown seems even further from how Gaster talks, who is usually unnaturally formal and precise, especially in the use of goodbye at the end. The Japanese version of the letter also doesn't help matters very much at all. In the letter, Unknown speaks in kana, being katakana and hiragana respectively, no kanji at all. If you're aware, Gaster uses katakana and kanji exclusively when speaking in standard font, and goes so far as to use romaji when speaking in Wingdings, neither being the case for Unknown. So, about as far as a character can possibly be from Gaster on that part. This may also be sort of a hard speech quirk of Unknown, as even with the narrator speaking in kanji like in the Dark World, Unknown still abstains from using said glyphs. Either that or Unknown wrote the letter in the Light World and is being read in the Dark World, somehow. Whichever the case, Unknown does appear to be a lightener from the lack of kanji to, again, our pre-Chapter 3 understanding. Unknown seems to be closer to being Papyrus than Gaster in terms of characterization, for what that's worth. And no, this isn't me saying Gaster must be a humorless, super serious old man with a bone up his ass. I don't believe in anti-nuance nonsense like that, much like how some inversely say Gaster is just a goofy blob man that has done absolutely nothing mysterious or dangerous. I hate that, frankly. Anyway, if not quite the doctor we're looking for, or his lanky relative, who else could Unknown be? Let's see. In general, Unknown has a lot of similarities to Dr. Gaster, while being oddly distinct in other regards. With a selection of known characters/entities we have in our selection within Undertale and Deltarune, I think there is one that fits these criteria shockingly well. Right now, I strongly believe that Unknown is the man behind the tree, which y'all rightfully predicted, I'd say, and has been argued by others before. The game awareness stuff, Gaster-like presences and events, appearing in both the light and dark worlds, disappearing without a trace, indecision, the whole shebang. If these two aren't the same, I'll be very surprised. Until we have further information, and eventually confirmation, deconfirmation, on who either Unknown or the man are, I think this is the best lens to view further potential answers and suggestions through. Although, keep in mind the potential issues with this theory of mine. Unknown does not do or mention anything about the eggs in their letter. It's just similarities in the other qualities of said letter, which isn't quite as reliable. Although, while Unknown is merely referred to as just that, Unknown, in the image's URL, the man still gets his definitively self-named URL in the Deltarune site. But, to defend that last point, I highly doubt the man's true name is literally just man. The card URLs have the characters' names instead of their titles, after all, some attenuation, but I don't think it's a lot, though if you disagree with me, please let me know. Despite this weaker point of my argument with Unknown Man theory, I still very much support it. Anyway, through this theory, What might this say about other aspects of Unknown's message and potential role in the future? Remember how Unknown said that they really wanted to help someone in particular that they strangely forgot, and needs the reader's help. With Noelle's eggs having a name that's impossible to remember, I think this may tell us who they're helping. If they're the same person, I believe that Unknown/man isn't Gaster himself, but is trying to help Gaster by giving out these self-named eggs. Somehow. Sort of. This is an important detail I got into earlier. While I don't remember who it is they want to help, they do concede that it might be themselves in their usual fence-sitting way. But even still, this may be an imperative clue. What if, in some regard, they are Gaster? I'm of course referring to my Goner Man theory, now roping Unknown into this. Oh yeah, and if you think this is the crack theory I was referring to, it's not. Sit tight for that one later. The specifics I'm going to suggest now may be something of a stab in the dark. I believe that the man might be a Goner, or possibly in the process of becoming one, or even a Gaster follower. All of the Goners we've seen so far have been Lighteners, or at least of Lighteners. We know that Gaster Follower 2 has a piece of Gaster, and that they can instantly teleport seemingly whenever they want. This also goes for Goner Clam, who despite not being called a Gaster Follower or talking about Gaster directly, she still is able to teleport the exact same way, both namely after player interaction, showing no property or ability differences. Even so, all Goners evidently can teleport whenever, as leaving their rooms and coming back immediately has them despawn. I think it's only logical that they all harbor pieces of the Doctor. Wouldn't make much sense for just one of them to have it, and do nothing special with them. Furthermore, if they do all have pieces of Gaster, then they could all be partial vessels for him, which would explain both their powers and potentially their intel. Or, in other words, another Goner is another him. As the Gaster followers, given their title, they'd speak about Gaster directly, as well as giving some of his backstory, although it's always in a sort of gossip. Even this may be hinted at elsewhere in Unknown's words, as they heard a rumor of Valentine's Day, instead of accepting that it's a thing that happens every year like everyone else. This might extend to Goner Kid and Goner Clam too. Most notably, with Goner Clam, since she knows of both Undertale, where she is, of course, and Deltarune, this may further suggest that Unknown's direct acknowledgement of Deltarune and the wait for it is due to them being a Goner or Goner-esque. Unknown's meta-knowledge seems similar to Goner Clam, and if they're also the man, this goes even further. This could also explain why the man knows all of those Undertale songs he plays in Hong Song, pulling information from both universes. There might be one more piece of information that can be interpreted as evidence for more Gaster connections, even if possibly a stretch. It's Unknown's lines of the face and the coat. Fans have interpreted the meaning of this statement in two ways, beyond just in order to get ready for eventually meeting Unknown in Chapter 4 or some such. First, there's the yet inexplicable appearance of Mystery Man's torso. With Unknown potentially confusing the two here, this might be a wink and a nod towards that face-like chest, even if it doesn't tell us much of anything about Mystery Man yet. Alternatively, some say it might be reference to the chair from the sweepstakes, as that first has what appears to be the shadow mantle, which in itself causes watery darkness to wash over it. Then, the accompanying friend-like eyes and laugh. This could mean that Unknown has some relation to Friend, which is definitely possible regardless, but beyond the Gaster and meta elements, I've got nothing else to say on the matter. Unfortunately, whether this theory of mine is right or not, this does not really help in answering why the man would be giving out eggs that are presumably named after Gaster, be them in the Doctor's image or just sharing a moniker and properties. Sure, it's likely to help him, but we have no idea what the eggs are supposed to do, so we can't say what help that accomplish yet, or even if it's for the same thing at all. This next topic for Unknown I wish to go over is more of a hunch of mine. What if there's a reason for Unknown specifically revealing themselves in the form of a Valentine's Day card? It could be for the red soul we control, much like how the border is adorned with. In that case, we may get some juicy soul lore from Unknown, be it for souls in general or the power/backstory of this specific one that we control. Or, either instead of or conjunction with that, it could be about love. EXP and LV are yet to take stage in Deltarune, but the latter's in the battle end text box, both are programmed in the game to some degree, and the Weirdroot has symbolism for both of them. The man doesn't appear in the Weirdroot so far, so it may also be something of an inverse, where the man/unknown condemns the gaining of love instead of love. This would further be made interesting because of Unknown's all-caps typing quirks, given the fact that you cannot differentiate which of the two that they're talking about based on how they speak. If this means any of this, or even anything at all, I'd be content. With all the speculation I've already done, it's still not discernible, at least reasonably, why Unknown's handwriting would be so naturally indecipherable. All the Goners talk pretty much like normal people, barring Gaster 2's rhyming, and it doesn't look like we've seen them write anything before either. In spite of that, the necessity of squinting one's eyes and heart absolutely rings as an important feature, but that need not be a Goner thing. I do have thoughts on that, but I'm saving that for the crack theory video. There is so much to consider about Unknown. All I can say for certain is that we should get ready, because something big is coming in these next couple chapters, and it's going to involve this sociable yet discombobulated fellow, who or whatever they are. Well, there is one other possibility that I can think of for who they can be, instead of just what, but it's rather conjectural, and is mostly born of fanboyish hope. The circumstantial evidence, while seemingly plentiful and great to me, isn't enough for this particular character to be a reliable expectation, simply due to his nature. But in the next video, I'm going to be talking about my crackpot theory on who Unknown and the man are. I've had this in mind for many months, and it is a doozy, regardless of if this is right or not. Probably not. I am excited to share it with y'all. See you soon!